Sidorio stood on the beach, cradling in his hands the decapitated head of his new bride. Lola. He opened his mouth to speak her name, but it was too painful to say the word and know that she was gone. To know that she would never again glance up at him, her eyes sparkling with dark purpose. That she would never again smile and take his hand, never again lift one of her favourite antique glasses, filled with her own special vintage, and sip from it with all the grace of her aristocratic lineage. He gazed down at her in wonder. Even in this state, with her face turning as pale as the reflection of the moon on the becalmed sea, her beauty was peerless. Lady Lola Elizabeth Mercy Lockwood Sidorio. It was not yet an hour since they had been married, and already she had been taken from him, cruelly dispatched at the altar by his own son. A tear welled up in Sidorio's eye. It was not a familiar sensation. The bead of water escaped and fell like a raindrop onto Lola's cheek. Sidorio had a sudden fancy that the water might somehow revive her, that she was not dead but only sleeping. But deep down, in the knot of his stomach, he knew she was gone. He was alone again. Sidorio lifted his eyes for a moment and saw a small boat skimming away across the water. The pirate squad heading back to its ship, their terrible mission completed. Already they were too far off for him to distinguish between the silhouettes of the vicious Captain Cheng Li and Lola's youthful assassin. But Sidorio held the image of the boy's face clearly in his mind, for it was the face of his own flesh and blood, his son, Connor. "My boy," he rasped in agony. From somewhere came a sound resembling a sigh. Instantly, he glanced down at his wife's head, wondering if there was any conceivable way the sound had emanated from her. But no, it was merely a rogue wave lapping against the shore. Lola's face was as impassive as ever. Sidorio traced the line of his wife's cheek. Her skin had begun to change now, not only in colour, but also in tone. No longer the smooth alabaster he was used to. Sidorio stared down at the tattoo of a black heart painted around Lola's left eye. That black heart, that closed eyelid, covered the most precious of jewels. Sidorio willed Lola to open her eyes just one more time. If only he could see her beautiful mahogany-coloured eyes for one last fleeting moment. But no, a single moment with Lola would be too tantalizing. He would always want more. Even if he could turn the clock back a mere hour, when all eternity was spread out before them, he would always feel ravenous for more time with Lola. Her skin was growing more wrinkled with every second. Now that the seal of her immortality had been broken, the hungry years were at last racing to catch up with her and consume her. It was a terrible thing to behold. Sidorio thought back to their first meeting. It had been on another beach, not dissimilar to this one. She and her crew had been playing games with him, but, as she had confessed that night, it had all been a ploy to catch his attention. How had she put it? She was so dexterous with words. "How else can a minnow signal a whale?" "That's right." He could almost hear her voice. He smiled momentarily. How long, though, he wondered, before he lost the ability to summon up that distinctive cut-glass timbre? How long before even this memory was lost? His thoughts moved on to the time he had trespassed onto her ship, the Vagabond, a considerably smaller vessel than his own, the mighty Blood Captain. That night, he had interrupted her as she prepared for her nightly bloodbath.